Morning, folks. Give it a second to get caught up and we'll get into it, okay? How's everybody doing? Running a little late this morning. I've actually had people ask me to go a little bit later. There we go. We're synced up in 5 by 5. I've had people ask, can you start a little bit later, 5 or 10 minutes? I'm like, sure, that'll give me a chance to put deodorant on in the mornings. So how's everybody doing? Let's see. Aaron is in the house. Jennifer Cruz is here. Marley, American Trucker's wife. Jonathan Hicks has bragging rights this morning. He was the first one up in here. Digna, good morning. TJ Crawford, Melissa, it's slamming. Randall White, how are you doing, brother? For some reason, Telegram, I got kicked out off the Telegram. I have to re-download the Telegram. But they told me you were trying to message me over there, brother. Paul Jones, good morning. Jim, how you doing? So, did you folks know, before we get started, we're going to be talking about the border war this morning, but did you folks know that back in the 1950s, the U.S. government actually experimented with, I don't know, they were using television, the early age of television, and they were putting things on TV subliminally. Like it was a big experiment to get people to do things without even thinking about it. What are your thoughts on that? Because my thoughts, it's a pretty cool idea. I give it a thumbs up. See what I did there? I got to start with some humor, folks. Sorry. So you folks rocked the thumbs up yesterday, and it boosts us way up when you do that. I appreciate it. So yeah, bad dad joke. But anyway, let's get into the border war. So before the hate mail comes, people are going to inbox me, I'm sure, without watching the entire video, and they're going to say, don't dehumanize these people. They're immigrants. They're just trying to get over the border. When I say border war, I'm actually not talking about the immigrants. We know it's a full-on invasion, okay? But I'm actually talking about Texas Governor Greg Abbott versus the Biden administration, and here's why. I linked the intel down below. This was a very hard piece of intel to find online, okay? Mainstream media, they are not talking about it. But tomorrow, Greg Abbott is holding a press conference with all kinds of law enforcement, plus there are going to be 10 other governors there from the states that are affected by this, this deal at the southern border, okay? And I wrote them down here. Arizona, Georgia, Idaho, Iowa, Montana, Nebraska, Ohio, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and Wyoming. And again, the link is down below. So, essentially, you have 11 governors that are going to be holding a press conference tomorrow. They have their National Guards standing by. They realize, number one, the Biden administration is going to do nothing for them at this point when it comes to the southern border. Number two, they realize the Biden administration is going to retaliate somehow. They don't really know how, but there's strength in numbers. So now, again, we have 11 governors, and that number could actually rise. I don't know. What I do know is this is how civil wars get started. When you have a central control somewhere, in our case, D.C., and then you have governors or, the next step down from U.S. president, or king, or whatever, tyrant, whatever you want to call him. And the next step down, and they start forming their own groups and their own packs because they realize DC doesn't work anymore. DC is not working for the American people anymore. And they have to now do this on their own. So the implications could be, thank you for that, Aaron. The implications could be severe here. There's no way, first of all, that Biden doesn't know that this is going to go down tomorrow. We could potentially see a situation. I would hate to think it, but we could see a situation because Biden and Harris, they're spiteful. They could threaten sanctions against these states. We're going to defund the states. They could send in the regular army on these states and kick off a complete civil war. But the message, again, is that DC doesn't work anymore. That's what they're trying to get across, I think, to the American people tomorrow. You got to do something, right? Again, not heartless, but I think the number, it could have grown by now, but last time I saw the number, it was 20,000 plus. More illegal immigrants coming up through the southern border. They're making their way to the southern border. And the reason this continues to happen over and over is some will get turned away and some get a court date here in the United States and they just get released into the wild. They're never going to make the court date. The people know this. They're just bringing them in, you know. They're allowing these people to circumvent the system. I don't know if somebody said it before Trump, but I know Trump was famous for saying it. You know, a country needs borders. We're either a country or we're not. If we're not, then we're just a swatch of land that people march through. But if we're a country, we need borders, we need laws, and we need to enforce the laws. So it's not ever going to stop until our government puts the brakes on it and they start turning people away. Now, sorry, you never Trumpers if you're in here, but Trump actually had gotten to the point where he was forcing Mexico to deploy its own military. So not only were these people getting turned around under Trump's presidency, not all of them, but many, but it was on Mexico's dime. That's strength and leadership. Not a perfect president, but he was a very strong president. And now we have Biden's America. They're going to blame it on Trump, but it's not Trump's. It's not Trump's doing. It's been an issue. Anybody that lives in that area knows that it's been an issue for a while. Move North Homestead, I'm not sure. She said, when is the press conference tomorrow? You would have to follow the link down below. I'm not even sure they listed it. It was a local news station. So I don't know if mainstream media is going to pick it up at all. I don't know if it's going to be blocked on, various media outlets like YouTube and stuff like that. They're not going to want the American people to stand up and see this and say, wait a minute now. They don't want the American people to see that. Anybody would stand up against the government like that. But it's high time because it is an invasion. So the University of Virginia recently, I think this was the end of last week, conducted a poll on secession, the idea of going our separate ways. First of all, I want to know your thoughts on it. Is it high time we do it, or would this actually harm the Union? So 52% of Republicans, registered Republicans, say they support the split. They're okay with doing it. It's time. We're not getting along anymore. But surprisingly, 41% of Democrats that were asked, they also support a split. So doing the nation math here, doing the John math, son, that's a roughly 93% of Americans. If the poll is correct, they're okay with it. They're okay with the parents divorcing, because somebody made the analogy once here at Prepper Nation. I don't remember who it was, but it was perfect. And that is, when parents stay in a relationship or a marriage, when they're not getting along anymore, the kids suffer. And we're the kids in this analogy. It's time to just let them go their separate ways. Be neighboring countries or whatever the case may be. Again, I don't think, even if we were to split, I don't think an invasion of China or Russia is a huge threat. I think it would be more of we just go our separate ways. I don't know that the powers that be would allow this to happen, because they would lose a ton of influence, a ton of power. I think they're actually what's holding people together at this point. But I just wanted your thoughts on that this morning. I Spy, let's split the country in half and we can choose where we want to go. That's awesome. We should be able to come and go as long as we're legal. But what would happen here is if we split, I think, the Democrat-run states or led states, they're just going to allow immigration to continue. The conservative states would put the brakes on it real quick, I think. As a matter of fact, I think they're going to try and do it tomorrow. We'll see how far they go with it. Night of the Living Prepper, that's an excellent point. It won't be in half. So when you're looking at the map in terms of geography, it's not going to split in half. When we say split in half, we're talking about going our separate ways. And you could also run into a situation where it splits off into 3 or 4 smaller countries, much like the Soviet Union did when it just fell apart. Many nation states, yeah. Night of Living Prepper, you're correct. I think that's probably how it would go down. Economic restructuring will be the hardest part of secession. Absolutely, because the money is still owed. You know, they're arguing right now. It was what was it, 3.5 trillion, and Biden marched to Capitol Hill to convince people, and even the Democrats are not biting on this. They're having a civil war actually within the Democratic Party with progressives and then, you know, your mainline Democrats. He realizes that's lost now, so he's like, well, we're going to need at least 2.1. It's like the old movie Friday, if you've ever seen it. He's going to get down to like $2 in a pack of envelopes. They're just not getting along anymore. I don't know if they'll pass the budget or what. But I do know Facebook, excuse me, and Instagram are down yesterday. You folks see that, or I guess not see it, would be better. Yeah, Russell the Muscle knows the movie. Joe is the equivalent of the guy that was in the store. I forget his name, but he's laying in the floor claiming he slipped and fell. Yes, it was worldwide, Becca, absolutely. And there was complete panic. People were literally jumping on. I think Twitter was still up and YouTube, and they didn't know what to do with themselves. You know, there's no Instagram. I can't take 20 selfies of me eating chocolate pie. There's no Facebook. I can't get the dirt on my neighbors for a few hours. They didn't know what to do. Imagine for a second if it wasn't Facebook and Instagram, but imagine if it was the grid, you know, the electrical grid or the internet widespread. Imagine, you know, if that had went down and it was days or weeks, months, or even longer before it came back up. Imagine how people would be panicking at that point. Craft Today with Rita, didn't even notice. LOL. I saw it on Twitter. I got on Twitter and people were whining and crying. I mean, like literally, there are videos of people crying because Facebook was down. And I'm like, yeah, you ain't going to make it through SHT. Good morning, Sophia. How are you doing, ma'am? You caught any good deals lately? You been couponing? Boo-hoo, Sonia says. West Virginia homesteading mom, it didn't bother me a bit. Monsters mama, I was sewing and canning. Speaking of, let me find this real quick. People have been saying, John, be sure you take the rings off the jars. We do after a couple of days. My wife said something to do with mold. So I just wanted to let you folks know we are doing that. We're taking the rings off and we're not stacking them. And a couple of people here at the Nation sent me emails yesterday. And my God, I just answered and I was like, sweet Jesus. They were sending pictures of their canning stash. Y'all know who you are. You ladies know. And it looked like the inside of a fallout shelter. They had so much stuff canned. So, let's see here. Garden Koi, we leave the rings on. We started taking them off after a couple of days because people here were telling us that in some cases you'll get mold and stuff like that under the rings. But still a newbie, so that may not be correct. We just took them off to be on the safe side. We're still learning, you know. So Taiwan, what are your thoughts on Taiwan? I totally forgot to mention this yesterday. China just sent in 77 warplanes and did a flyover of Taiwan. That's the way it should look, Debbie says. Well, we're working on it, but we don't have that many. We don't have that many jars yet. We gotta find them somehow, somewhere, decent priced. Melissa says war is coming. I believe that I was answering a comment yesterday, and I said I believe that China has figured out the U.S. really has no teeth when it comes to going to war right now. We have no stomach for it. We're not ready for war. We're in total disarray. And I think they are planning an invasion of Taiwan. They're just going to completely take it over. They're going to call our bluff, I think. Vince says World War III. Now, the flip side of this coin is we have Biden in charge. And we have generals running our military that apparently either lie all the time or they have zero clue when it comes to strategy. So this could be a situation where they do pull us into a World War III over Taiwan. You know, is it really a hill that we're willing to die on? Because we're not going to be able to defeat China. We're not going to be able to, I think, support a World War III effort. We don't have the resources. We don't have the money. CP Freedom says Biden has no teeth, literally. Well, Bernard says it's intentional, and that's always a possibility. It really is. He says scripted. What do you think of Taiwan, General Milley? I mean, Taiwan's in serious trouble because there's really nobody other than the United States to step up for them. And General Milley is, number one, I think he's compromised. You know, they made the man out to be a national hero when he was testifying in front of Congress. But the truth is, he was admitting in the wide open, yeah, I went behind Trump's back. He said Trump knew about it the entire time. Well, President Trump said, no, I didn't. I didn't know anything about this. First I'm hearing of it. So he was actively speaking to the Chinese about military strategy and making promises. We're not going to do this. I'm not going to let our commander-in-chief go to war to defend Taiwan. So I do think he's a traitor. I think in any other situation, they would have put him under the gallows. But at the very least, if we go to war with China, I don't think the man's winning anything. And it blows my mind before we move on. It blows my mind because he and General McKenzie were contradicting Joe Biden in front of Congress. They were under oath. They're like, you know, we told Biden all of this stuff. And Biden's like, no, you didn't. Son, you didn't tell me nothing. And he still hasn't removed these two. You know, at the very least, Biden needs to replace these two with two people that are yes men that will do what he says. But he's not even coherent enough to do that. He's just walking from Ben and Jerry's to Ben and Jerry's. His wife's leading him along, you know. Mames says jars usually go up a little this time of year. Mames, one of the ladies that sent pictures over yesterday was telling me to buy the jars in bulk. When you see them, just buy them out. Buy them out. So you know you have them in the future. I was like, I'm talking probably 2,000 or 3,000 she had sitting there in the pictures. Wow, that's what I've got to look forward to. So Andrew Yang is now an independent, folks. And water is wet. I don't know which one's more important, you tell me. I don't think Andrew Yang going independent really is going to matter. He's a non-political factor at this point. And it comes back to, I believe, the infighting that's going on in the Democratic Party. The socialists are in the Democratic Party, your AOC types. They're taking over. They've basically taken over. Nancy Pelosi can't push anything through now, and they should be able to. Sweet Tea Hills, Yang is a timed mouthpiece. I mean, he just has no political clout, you know. I think his time is come and gone. I thought that about Beto, though, and he's polling, they say anyway, who knows, that he's polling pretty high in Texas. That would be a disaster. God bless you, the prepping preacher. Yang to U.S. politics is like Richard Branson to space travel. There you go. Song of the South says AOC can't run a can opener. No, but she can charge you a lot of money for it because you just pay it. So, folks in here yesterday, you were talking about comms, and I missed those comments or I misunderstood the comments. And I've linked comms down below. The Baofeng is somebody was asking about CB radios. I would go with the Baofeng brand. It's just a more quality brand. Whatever your range is, it's very important. I did not know this when I bought my first set of walkie-talkies, is the range cuts down significantly, around 50% if you have foliage, if you have buildings anywhere around you. So just keep that in mind. If you see it online, Amazon, Walmart, wherever you choose to get them, probably not going to find them at Walmart, at least not around here. Sonya Baofeng. It's spelled down below. It's actually linked down below. You just want to keep that in mind when you're buying them. If it says 50-mile range, if you're in Saskatchewan, Canada, it's criminally flat up there. Yeah, you're getting 50 miles, but otherwise you're probably only getting 25 or 30. And Arkansas Living, good morning. And other people were talking about ham radios. I think ham radios are good. I think CBs in vehicles are good also. But at the same time, I worry about depending on what the SHTF is. So if we're in the middle of a civil war, okay, and that's just one scenario, maybe there's an invasion of some type, a lot of this stuff is easy to triangulate, meaning they can figure out where you're at if you're using this stuff too much or too long. So you just want to keep that in mind as well. Robert Nee, good morning. Terry, ham is the way to go. You need to be licensed for it. But they actually have some decent portable models as well. 442 olds, they know where you're at all the time, I think is what you're trying to say. And most of the time they do. But there are places here, and I'm sure all across the country, where we can go and there's no GPS. Like, you just can't pick it up. You can't pick up anything. Cell phone signal drops down to nothing. GPS is gone. You can get lost if you need to. Bosco Blue, Baofeng is on lightning round on Amazon right now. Oh man, I'm gonna have to go check that out. I knew Amazon was running some sort of a deal or something, Black Friday, I think. But I didn't know Baofeng was in there. Again, I linked Baofeng down below, but I didn't really take the time to check because there were 10 or 15 pages of them, I think. JR Cannon, the longer antenna is always better. Absolutely. Leslie, Amazon. Yeah, Baofengs are on Amazon. The Great Reckoning 2020. I have a license here. Let me show you. And then he's got a questionable emoji. That is my train of thought if we're in Mad Max or something like that. Once we get to that point, or we get to the point where it's complete martial law, I ain't worried about it. Let them find me for using it. They can send the bill in the mail or whatever. But if it's a matter of survival... Aaron, can you say Baofeng one more time, please? Am I saying it wrong, man? Come on. I just have always said Baofeng. Cobra makes a decent one. We've also had the Cobra brand, but I've had my hands on a few Baofengs, and they seem more quality built. And they're not Baofeng. Okay. Thank you, Big Red. I've always called it Baofeng. Jennifer Cruz, please clarify the boxes behind you for the people asking. Okay, so people sometimes ask about this area back here. Oh, I think I had community coffee or something back here last week, and everybody was asking, and I saw it after the fact. So this is a catch-all. There's actually a little stove down here below, and stuff just accumulates here, and it moves its way throughout the house. So This and, oh my goodness, there are cups back here. This is all party stuff. We're getting ready to have a Halloween party in a few weeks. My wife is spearheading that one, son. And this has just been moved around by my kids. Those three. So you will see random stuff back here time to time. Halloween, the Halloween cereal, I'll be honest with y'all. I like the Count Chocula. My friend Travis and I were just having this debate. He's a Frankenberry fan. And I said, no, it says artificially flavored. They're all artificially flavored except for the chocolate. Not to be accusing Bill Gates of nothing like that. But Bowfang. Okay, so I learned something today. Bowfang. Talk about the border war, Billy Hurst. Well, it doesn't have a whole lot to do with the migrants. We were talking about this earlier, but could potentially spark a war, I think, Billy, between, I hate to say it, the National Guard that is going to be deployed out and whatever Joe Biden sends down that way. He could send federal marshals. I don't know what he's going to do. He could just say, hey, we're going to we're not going to send any more funding to Texas. And there was a list of other states as well, threaten them financially. Who knows? I mean, I'm not being mean, but Joe's a clown. Who knows what he's going to do? He doesn't know what he's going to do until he's told, hey, you're going to do this by some pretty important people. CB and a mobile ham radio in my truck. That's awesome, Terry. The CBs, I think they come with like I don't know if it's a straight on emergency channel or just emergency weather, but that's one of the huge advantages. Rock, I ain't answering that, man. Are you kidding me? What color does it turn your poop? I don't know. The cereal? I don't know. I'm not posting pictures if that's what you're asking, son. That's very good, Brian. You don't need a license to listen to ham radio, FYI. No, but in order to use it and to really grasp, the concept of it, unless you know somebody that has one, and they're licensed, and maybe they can walk you through and let you try it out a little bit. But they're pretty straightforward. It's just a matter of getting smacked on the hand, getting fined, that sort of stuff. Yeah, Golden Saucer says unless in an emergency. If it's an emergency, I don't care. It's kind of like, for an analogy, if you're having an emergency, somebody's sick or your wife's in labor, you're not going to go 25 miles an hour all the way to the hospital, You're going to be flying. And if the police just happen to get behind you, you're probably still not stopping. You might throw an arm out and say, come on this way, but it's an emergency. You're going to do what you have to do. Emergency situation, I'm using a ham radio. I don't care. T-Rex, Prepper Nation, those cereals behind you are made by General Mills. I am aware of that. And if you read the ingredients, it says genetically engineered. I am aware. This is Miss Nation's doing. She does most of the shopping. I rarely eat cereal. When I do, it's something chocolate. And that's a good question. What's the best way to store your boomstick underground? Any tips? You want to make sure it's in a waterproof container. For me personally, I would go with some sort of a waterproof container, be it a really good contractor bag, something like that, and then it's going inside of an ammo can. That's my personal method of doing it. There may be a better one, a better way of doing it. Okay, I'll look for that video, Arkansas. Yeah, they do make special cases. You can buy some people will put PVC together, PVC piping, and they actually make catchments to go in the ground. If you're willing to pay for them, I'm cheap, so I'm looking at either PVC. I'm still putting it in a contractor bag unless it's a really crappy gun, and then it's going in the PVC or also the small ammo cans. Homestead Homeboy, North Carolina. Thank you very much. He says, "Hello, John, from your brother in Elkin." I know where Elkin's at. Not too far away. Some good people there. No, you're exactly right. Reckless rifle won't fit in an ammo can. I totally agree. And that would be a case where you're using PVC. Again, it's just me personally. I don't want to announce everything. It's a handheld model that I have underground. So I store ammunition in PVC pipe, sealed and hidden. JD, yeah, and that's fine. I would just put it in a contractor bag first to keep moisture and stuff off of it, at the very least. Again, there may be a better way. Tack it up in a tree. Night of the Living Prepper. I do know some folks that will go into the middle, like a hollowed out tree or something like that. Look like an episode Survivor, people digging down in there. Outdoor with James, member for 13 months. That is awesome. Good morning, John. That is awesome. Thank you for the support over the course of 13 months. Just got a diamond beside his name. Wayne, yesterday in Tucson, there was a shootout on an Amtrak train with the DEA. I did see that, but I think it's probably just one of those localized events. People are crazy all over the country. You got nuts everywhere. I don't think it's a false flag or anything like that. That's a very good idea, Aaron. Vacuum sealing first is really what helps the most. And I just recently got one, so I may have to do that. The ammo, I do, Norma, I do have some ammo vacuum sealed, but it is not. It's currently not under the ground, or in the ground. Salty Soldier, yeah, you can bury nails around the area, or you can just take fistful and just sling them. Just sling them everywhere. And don't forget where you buried the boomstick. Very important. Otherwise, you'll be out there digging holes everywhere. Billy, false flag. I mean, it's possible. It could be. I don't know if we'll hear anything else about it or not. Reckless Reese, welcome to the Blue Coats. You should have a video yesterday. I think we posted it. Posted a video yesterday. You folks are going to be naming something very important. For those that are in the coffee club, you know what I'm talking about. All this cereal and granola talk is making me hungry. Well, I want to thank the mods for being here this morning. I know we've run over and everything like that, but I want to thank the mods, and also we were just talking about it at the coffee club. Thank you for the names yesterday. There's some killer names. I've got it narrowed down in my head at least to 3 or 4. The Great Reckoning, why vacuum seal ammo? I missed that part. Well, first, for me, I have some that's vacuum sealed. It's just easier to move. But they were talking about putting it in the ground and keeping moisture off and stuff like that. Prepper Trucker, I better not say that out loud, but that's a good question. Ever since the pandemic, what happened to all the other false flag type events? They seem to rotate them in and out, don't they? Dusty, thoughts on getting a real cowboy duster? I wouldn't mind having one. I mean, I always thought they look cool and they're functional. So they have a purpose. LT Kerr, how do you become a Prepper Nation Blue Coat? Yeah, okay, Nana, I'm so sorry, guys. Can you explain the coffee club and how to join, please? Nana's got it in all caps. Thank you. I normally don't mention it all that much because it sounds commercially or whatever. But under the video, there's a thing that says join right below the thumbs up button. And you click join, and there are different levels there and different benefits and things like that. But occasionally there will be a post. I need to get better about it, or a video that'll hit, and it only shows up in the timelines of the people that are coffee club members and things. So that's different than Patreon. It is. LT Curb, Patreon, those folks pick the content for Saturday night. Lou, why did you stop wearing the burgundy coat, John? It was stolen. If you're talking about the original blazer, I'll close with this because it's just so ridiculous. It was stolen. We went camping. I don't know if you folks remember the video, but we went camping. Caveman James was kind of irritated that I didn't bring a lot of food for him to eat and comfort items like pillow and blanket. So the next time he was in here, up at the Ponderosa, he thought it'd be funny and he took it. And he sent me a picture. I looked for that thing for about a week. And then Caveman James sent a picture. He'd cut the sleeves off of it. Because he's got no class, son. And, to get me back. And so I went out and I bought a more ridiculous looking one at the Goodwill. And I'll bring it out from time to time. But no, he wasn't holding it for ransom. He didn't want anything, Michelle. He's like, this is for not bringing me a pillow. Yeah, he cut the sleeves off, Nana. He's got no class. But I mean, it's not like I was in it for much anyway, like $5. If I complained, he would just give me $5. But the guy wears no shoes in real life. That's why we call him Caveman. When he goes to work, they make him wear shoes. So he does wear tennis shoes at work. But otherwise, you see him, he's out walking in town when you're up that way. And he's like a caveman. He wears no shoes and he smokes weed. I don't smoke weed. I don't pick on him because he's smoking weed, but that's his life. And apparently now he wears a sleeveless blazer when he's trying to dress up. I need to get him, Robert, I need to get him back on the show. I really do. But anyway, that's it. I'm closing it down, folks. Closing it down. I will talk to y'all tomorrow, okay? I got to get some coffee or something. Y'all done got me in Caveman James mode now, but I appreciate everybody being here this morning, and God bless y'all.